Okay, this is T-Mike, and today I'm shooting a video on how to change a water pump impeller on a Johnson 9.5 horsepower 1968 MQ-14. So I've already removed the gear case from the motor. Pretty simple. There's 4 bolts right here that bolted to the lower unit housing. When you take those 4 bolts out, it drops out and leaves about a crack about this far, and you'll see a shift rod connector on the shift rod. It's got 2 screws in it. Just loosen one of the screws and the shift rod will stay with the upper shift rod, and the housing will just drop right out. Okay, so I've also drained the oil out of this gear case, and the oil came out looking really good. So I'm gonna put the bottom plug back in, and I'm gonna put my pressure tester into the top plug and pressure it up to 7 pounds and see how she looks, if she'll hold pressure. I think she will, but we'll see. Alright, so I put the drain plug in the bottom and put my pressure tester into the top hole and pumped it up to 7 pounds. And as you can see, it ain't moving. I'm gonna leave it there about 5 or 10 minutes. I normally do a 24-hour test on them, but the gear oil on this one looks so good coming out, pristine. And I'm gonna tell you another trick to it. When you take your gear oil out and you take the bottom plug off and leave the top plug in, and the gear oil does not pour out, that means you got a pressurized gear case. The minute I opened the oil in the top, opened the screw on the top, and the air got in, then the oil started draining out. So I know that this is going to be a good pressure tested unit. And as you can see, it's still holding at 7 pounds. So pressure tested good. I think I'm going to change the impeller now, and then I'm going to replace the gear case oil. So here we go with the impeller change out. Alright, we're going to change out the impeller, and the replacement impeller for that is Sierra 18-3003. That's the replacement impeller. So we're going to pull the water pump housing off. There's 4 screws on the top that come out. Okay, I got all 4 screws taken out. Now the impeller housing just slides right up on the drive shaft. Now there's a roll pin right here that the impeller sits on that you got to pull off the drive shaft. Now there's a rubber O-ring here on the top of the drive shaft. That's got to come off. That O-ring is on the top of the drive shaft, and the impeller housing slides right off. That impeller looks pretty good. If you notice, the fins on that impeller are curved clockwise. The drive shaft always spins clockwise, which makes your fins clockwise on the inside. We'll pull that impeller off, and you see how the impeller doesn't bounce back? It tells you a sign of age, where the new impeller fins are straight. Alright, so I'm gonna get the new pull the new impeller out, and I'm gonna oil it up. I like 3-in-1 oil. Put some on the bottom of the housing. Grease her up. Lubrication. All right. So the easiest way to do this is take the roll pin, stick it back in the housing. I like to spin it facing to where the roll pin faces me, and then there's a slot in the impeller that roll pin fits into. So you put it on top of the drive shaft facing you, slide it down, and make sure that it's on that roll pin. When you spin the drive shaft, it ought to turn. All right. Now I'm going to take the housing and slide it over. Then take me a pair of locking channel locks. Put on top of the drive shaft here, all right? And while holding the housing, spin the drive shaft clockwise while pushing down on the housing, and the housing just slips right in. All right, can you see that? See the spinning of it? So the housing slipped right in, which made the fins go in the clockwise direction, in the right direction. And take your 4 screws, get them back in. I like to do my screws counterclock, cat a corner from each other, so the housing comes down flush, and don't put them too tight. Do the 2 cat a corner ones, then come down and snug up the other 2 cat a corner. Makes the housing come down square over the impeller. And then make the circle, putting them tight, hand tight. All right. That's replacing the impeller. Now I'm going to replace the gear oil, and I'm going to show you the easy way to do it with my do-it-yourself automatic gear oil transfer pump. That's a T-mic trick coming up. Here we go. Alright, now we're going to change the gear case oil, and I'm going to do it with my handy-dandy automated gear case pump. What I did, I took a battery-operated sprayer, and I have a video on how to make this. I took a battery-operated sprayer, and I cut the handle off and added me a shut-off valve with the tip for the gear case so we can do it automatically. Pretty neat, huh? So I'm going to tighten up the sprayer. I'm going to turn the pump on. It's going to pressure up while I'm connecting to the gear case. We'll let it pressure up, then we'll open the valve and the gear oil will start flowing. When you see the gear oil coming out the top, it means it's full. Shut the valve off, done. Neat, easy, clean, not all spilled all over the place. Don't have to refill your bucket. It holds 2 gallons of gear oil. Pretty good. All right, so it stopped, so it's pressurized. I'm going to open the valve, and I can see the oil flowing. So it takes about 3 minutes to fill up an empty gear case. So I'm going to speed this up and come back to it when it's overflowing. Okay? All right, gear oil is coming out the top. I'm going to shut the valve off. That gear case is full. I'm going to take the top drain plug, put it back in. Now, as I said earlier, I'm going to remove my gear oil plug, and because the unit is so pressurized, the gear oil is not going to come out the bottom because there's no air leaking in the unit. So I don't have to hurry up. I can take that off and then put my drain plug. Just a little squirt came out. A little squirt of gear oil came out. All right, so we drained the gear oil, we pressure tested it, it passed. We changed the water pump impeller, and then we replaced the gear oil. Now, the last thing we're going to do is take it out, put it in a barrel, and put a drill on the drive shaft and make sure it's pumping water. Going to be ready to go back on the motor. Here we go. All right, so as you can see, I've got my 1/2 inch DeWalt drill on the gear case, sitting in a bucket of water, and I'm going to spin it clockwise. And that baby pumps some water, so we know it'll be good when we put it back on the unit. Alright, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Here at T-Mike's, we're doing it one motor at a time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Here at T-Mike's Vintage Outboards, we're doing it one motor at a time. Please click on subscribe. I guarantee to provide weekly videos. Au revoir mes amis, and laissez les bon temps rouler.